Howdy mates, good evening. How are we all doing today on this grand Sabado? Sorry, by the way, that means Saturday. Anyway, September 30th. It's finally reached the end of September. And I tell you what, this month has been a quick one at that. And a most adventurous one, too. Trying to incorporate that whenever I am able. Anyway, welcome to the Cedar River. This one I'm going to keep a little more disclosed, just because, as you can see, it is rather quiet right now. So my only thing is that I will say that this is the Cedar River, which is a well-known river found in eastern Iowa. Now, part of the reason that I wanted to make this video was for this particular plant right here, the Tall Boneset, also known as Euphotorium altissimum. It is related to the aster, the Asteraceae family, which includes a wide array of different plants. But a good way to distinguish tall boneset versus common boneset, there's two different types, is typically the leaves that you can see along the stem here, they alternate along the stem. Whereas common boneset, which is actually a little shorter in terms of its height, the leaves are directly opposite of one another. That's a good way to tell the difference. And these are all separate bundles, or separate bundles of inflorescence. That's a fancy way of saying there's multiple flowers, or I should say flower heads, on this plant. In particular, the reason why it's called boneset is, any of you ever heard of dengue fever? It's a pretty serious condition. And oftentimes it was called the break bone fever because it would cause so much pain that a person would feel like their bones were broken. And so a concoction is made from this plant by means of leaves and the stem. It induces sweating as a way to alleviate the dengue fever. And as you can see, it is quite prevalent, especially here. Because you have to figure, it's very versatile in terms of where it can inhabit. It can take moist soil or even drier soil, which is where we are right now. We're on a little bit of like a grassland right here. And it's hard to imagine, isn't it, you guys, the fact that this is in Iowa. You see, the thing is, this part of the United States, you know, whether it is in Illinois, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Iowa, Missouri, you know, just to name a few states, you know, the thing is, you know, we have that common belief that as soon as we hear about those states, we immediately think of the Corn Belt. I mean, yes, in a sense, but there are still indeed hidden gems that keep the original landscape. You know, it is unfortunate that agriculture became such a priority as to where the original existence of the landscape was practically eradicated. Most of this area was tall grass prairie, which is by far one of the most biodiverse and productive ecosystems At least terrestrially. See what? It's a little fancy term there. So I'm actually reading a really good book that I'm reading about, just because it's very relevant to where I'm staying right now. But yeah. Anyway, this just, of course, proves that, despite most of Iowa being as agricultural as it is, there are indeed some hidden gems. And this one in particular, I'm going to keep a little more quiet. I won't disclose. It was funny. Like, when I got here a little earlier, there was like so many different groups from those who were participating in homecoming, prom. The crazy thing is, it's the common tradition that you do something like that. I never did. Even though I was prompted several times to go to one, I never did. I don't know. I mean, granted, looking back, I'm sure it would have been a great time. But you know what? I'm sure I wasn't the only person who didn't go either. But anyway, I digress. Have a good one. Take care.